To be building a successful podcast in 2024, you need to be building a community around it. The reason why is because this community is going to make your fans even more loyal to your podcast. It could bring you opportunities that you don't even know about yet, and you're going to deepen your connection with your existing audience. In this video, I'm going to be covering 6 different things that you need to pay attention to as you build your podcast community. Let's get into it. Hi, I'm Zavi. I am the CEO and founder of Plumwave. We are redefining intimacy one podcast at a time. So let's get right into it. The first thing that we want to do is understand the audience. A community that listeners are going to love starts with addressing what needs they have. So how do you get insights into your audience? One of the ways is to look at your podcast analytics. You can find information about what podcast client they use, where they're located, and also how many downloads each episode is getting. Try to look back at your previous content and see what content is resonating. That might give you clues as to what their needs or problems or questions might be that you can address with this community. Number 2 is to conduct a survey. A lot of major podcasts actually do this. They create a survey basically every year that they send out to their listeners to gather more feedback and more information about them and what they enjoy about the show, what they maybe dislike about the show. You can even do something really cool and give something away, maybe a gift card or some kind of, cool thing so that people are interested and incentivized to fill out the form. This is where you can look to comments or emails that your listeners might have sent you that is addressing this issue, that is telling you, this is what I need, this is the question that I have. Take a look at those and see what better things you can learn about your audience and collect that information. Number 2 is creating valuable content. The success of any content, and in this case, we're talking about podcasts, which is content. The success of that is going to come down to value. And what do people value? Things that or content that has value is often educational, informative, maybe entertaining. But how exactly do we quantify if the content that we're creating is valuable? I like to think of valuable content meets 2 criteria. Number 1, it addresses the needs and interests of your target audience. But number 2, it usually falls into one of these categories. It's educating, it's motivating, or it's entertaining. So as you brainstorm ideas for your podcast, you want to ask yourself, is this piece of information informative? Is it entertaining? Is it maybe inspiring to my audience? All 3 of those are great, and you want to do a little bit of a mix of all 3. How should you go about brainstorming content that is valuable? I have a few different ways to do this. Brainstorm with ChatGPT. I've said this before. I do not like using ChatGPT as something that you just copy pasta somewhere. But you can ask ChatGPT for questions. You can ask ChatGPT questions. You can also go back and forth with it. If you don't like certain ideas, you can continue to give it other inputs so that it returns better ideas for you. Another great thing that will help you brainstorm content that is valuable is to establish your content pillars. Content pillars are like categories. They're main topics that you talk about in your podcast. What are those content pillars for you? For example, I host a podcast about polyamory and being religious. So one of our content pillars is navigating polyamory. The other content pillar is life after religion. These are main core topics that we know our audience cares about, that we know resonate with our audience. And so we can create content that fits within those pillars. Another great idea is to have a content calendar. As we said before, you want your content to fit within that criteria of being informative, educational, and inspirational. But you don't want to do those things too back to back. You kind of want to switch things up so that your audience is getting a healthy mix of all the different kinds of content that is valuable to them. Number 3 is you want to engage with your audience. This means more than posting your podcast episodes on social media. It means having other interactions with your audience. How are you showing up for them? Are you showing up in your stories? We've seen time and time again, data come out that stories are actually the thing that people engage with the most. So how are you using your stories? Not, again, by just reposting your content from your main feed onto your story, but like content that is a little bit more behind the scenes. Maybe it can be more off the cuff. Maybe it can be less produced and edited. Those are ways to engage with your audience. Another way to engage with your audience is to send out a newsletter. People really discount the value of email marketing, but it is very, very powerful. You should be sending an email to your list, maybe once a week, but if you can't do once a week, maybe twice a month, maybe once a month. Whatever you can do consistently so that your audience is constantly hearing from you. Lastly, you can put on a live event. A lot of podcasts actually have been doing this. They do either live recordings or live in-person meetups and have their audience come. This is a great way to engage your audience. And remember, something that's in person, something that's live, will stick with an audience member for a long time. Will stick with a fan, honestly, for a long time. So keep that in mind as you do live events. You want to create an unforgettable experience for your audience. Number 4 is build relationships. I love genuine people, and you probably do too. It's something that you can really tell, right? You can tell when someone is not being genuine with you. But when they are being genuine, you are more likely to listen to what they have to say. And at least in my case, I feel like I'm more likely to buy from people that I feel genuine about. And so that's something important to keep in mind as you build relationships with your audience. When you respond to their comments, when you respond to their DM, does this kind of come off robotic? Or are you just trying to have genuine conversations with people? You never know who your audience could become. They could end up becoming your clients. They could end up booking a workshop that you're putting on, or even booking you for a speaking gig. So I would always lead with genuine and real kind of emotion with people. Try to build a real connection with people. And again, like I said, you can do this either via comments, via DM. I have done it personally by sending a personal note via mail. These are the kind of things that really stick in the mind of your audience. Number 5 is fostering community. This whole idea starts and ends with you. Ultimately, what do you care about? Why did you start this podcast? Why do you care about this audience? What values matter to you? These are things that you should be talking about all the time, so as to remind your community what is bringing all of us together. And that all starts with you. Also, there needs to be a space for this to happen. I personally like a good Facebook group. There are people who think that Facebook groups are dead. They are not dead. I'm telling you, they're not dead. They're great. They're a great way to get your community involved in the discussion, plan events, do a whole myriad of different things. You can also create a subreddit or create a group on some other forum where your listeners, again, can congregate and talk about not only your podcast, but issues related to your podcast. That way they can interact with each other. And again, that gives that sense of community so that people feel like, oh, I'm not the only one that listens to this podcast. There are a bunch of us and we're all facing similar things. Once you're in your group, you want to create hype. So ask questions that start discussion. Share your episodes and ask for your audience's opinion on that episode in your Facebook group or in your group of whatever. One of the things I love to do is I run a Facebook group for polyamorous people in my local area, and every week we have a selfie thread, and that is one of the most popular threads of every week. Almost like a ton of people in the group participate in that discussion. So try to find ways to engage your audience once you're already in the community. The next tip is to celebrate milestones and achievements. Sometimes this can be difficult as you're first getting started because it can feel like your achievements aren't that huge. But I feel like you should be celebrating these achievements with your audience, because the thing is that your audience is the one that has been loyal with you, right? They're the ones who are seeing this happen. And so you want to celebrate those achievements at every time. And it gives you an opportunity to be grateful and thankful with them for making this happen for you. Also, don't think that the milestones or achievements that you can celebrate are only about your podcast. You can celebrate achievements and milestones that you are achieving in your business that therefore will be interesting to your audience as well. There are lots of ideas to do this, but I mean, you could create a segment on your podcast to celebrate achievements. You could do a live episode somewhere and again, invite your target audience, your audience to come and see the recording for a certain milestone. There are tons of ideas of ways that you can celebrate your achievements, no matter how small, as your community grows. All right, so what did we learn today? You want to understand your audience. Maybe get some information from them. Create valuable content. You can do this by asking yourself, is this informative? Is this educational? Is this entertaining? Number 3 was engage with your audience. Do this by responding to their DMs, to their comments. Number 4 was build genuine relationships by being yourself, by being you, by being genuine, and by maybe doing things, that are more personal. Send out a note. I don't know, respond to a DM in a very personal way. These are small things that you could do. Number 5 was foster community, which is basically create a space for your community. Where are you going to host it? Facebook, Reddit, somewhere else? It's up to you. And number 6, celebrate milestones and achievements, no matter how small. It's okay. You want to celebrate with your audience that growth of your community because they're going to be with you every step of the way. If this is something that you're struggling with or you want to learn more about, my company Plumwave might be able to help you. There's a link in the description below to schedule a discovery call with me where we can talk about your podcast and see where it's currently at in, the space of your business. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you got some value out of it, please hit that like button, subscribe for more videos. Till next time.